Oh my God, it's a lot of people. I have to apologize that I'm coming here empty-handed. I have nothing to show you. So, sorry about that. So we're going to come to Q&A questions very quickly. I just wanted to, actually I even wrote something back on an envelope. Probably can't read it anyway. I wanted to have a form of caveat. Well, we're gonna discuss things which are basically based on my past experience, and I wanted to underline the word past, meaning that I realized that I have done films that were made at a year where most of you were not even born. So we're really talking about the past. And I have two things to say about that. Whatever I'm going to say is already in the past. And now that technology is advancing so fast, things are changing so much in our business, and not only with the camera or the lights or things like that, but also the way we make films in terms of camera moves, in terms of editing, in terms of rules that we thought before to be gold standards, which are totally disappearing. I was thinking recently that the first film I shot, the lab was horrified because the entire film was 800 shots. They considered that it was too much, too cutty. Now, the last film I did, like 1,800 shots. And it's a fairly slow movie compared to most of what is done now. So our perception of films and the perception of the audience has changed tremendously, especially in the last few years. So it changes completely our approach to filmmaking. So what we are going to discuss today is based on, could be informed by the tension between tradition, the past, and the modern trends. And we could talk about that, could talk about the changes and what they imply. There was something else I wanted to say, but I forgot. I totally forgot. Okay. So now I'm leave my fate in your hands, and for whoever wants to start question, we'll try to answer. Yeah, I know it's a bit abrupt. Oh no, great. There are question on the upper levels.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you today?
Good, thank you.
That's good. My question is, I know you've done films like Big Fish and worked a lot with Tim Burton. And my question is, what is it like working with someone so, how do I put this, eccentric, really out there? Because his films are really out there and eccentric. I was just wondering how the translation process for the vision of the film takes place. With that, I probably phrased that really wrong. I'm sorry.
No, you do it very well. I'm trying to find a good answer. Well, it's very pleasant to work with someone who has such a vision. That's to start with. Especially that I've always admired his film, so I was happy to be, part of that experience. And when you say eccentric, when you start working with Tim, you don't see that as being eccentric. Because you're part of a process of trying to see how the film will be approached, and then once you get into that mood, it's the normal mood. Basically, Tim's world becomes your world. And then you go with the flow. Of course, it would be a great mistake if you say, okay, well, me, Philippe Rousselot, I'm going to show Tim how to do a film. Which of course I'm not doing that kind of thing with nobody actually. But No, it was great. It was a great experience on both 3 films that I did with him.
Thank you very much.
Great silence. Looms. Yes.
What do you feel are the principal differences between filmmaking on analog and the new digital camera systems with regard to format and technique on the floor?
Technique on the floor changes, of course, because you've got a big monitor that you can share the image with whoever is interested. Usually not many people, but technically, yeah, it changes. I try to not have my mind altered by the difference, meaning that I push the problems somewhere else. Basically, in the end, it is how can I do my work in the best possible manner, how I can do the best possible film. And then the question of film and digital kind of is at the background, it disappears in a way. I try to make this problem disappear, let's put it this way. Ultimately, and I only did 3 films on digital. The rest of my career is all on film. So we can have endless debates, and I had those debates, whether film, whether digital, and I always had a slightly different approach on that, but that's now part of history, because at the beginning I was really against digital because, to be honest, it was crap at the beginning, or in my point of view, it was not very good. Then the modern cameras, I mean, you cannot dispute the fact that they're very, very, very efficient. I was against digital because I feared the consequences, not in terms of aesthetic, but in terms of social. I mean, companies closing down, Kodak losing its thing like that, people losing their jobs and things which, well, now it has happened, there's nothing you can do about it. I think a lot of people suffered from that thing, and I was very conscious also that the push for digital was a push, an economical push, because basically film cameras, you could use a film camera that was 40 years old, and it still worked perfectly. So basically, the development of the mechanical cameras were stopped, and you didn't need to produce more cameras. But digital, you have to change them every 6 months or every 2 weeks now. So it's a new market that comes in. So there was an enormous economical pressure for digital, which we have felt in our organization, whether it was the AAC, the AFC, the whatever C. There was a push which I didn't like because I felt the economical pressure. And okay, but now that's again, it's in the past. Now we got 2 ways of making films, and it's anyone's choice. Both have their advantages. And my belief is that I never seen anyone leaving the cinema because it was either on film or on digital. I think you can make a good film with both things. I mean, it's been proven more than once.
Hello?
Yep.
Could you talk a little bit about, sorry, I'm up here.
Oh, sorry.
Could you talk a little bit about working with VFX as a cinematographer and essentially preparing to shoot something that isn't there and working with supervisors and so on?
Well, I work with visual effects people in the same way I work with set designer of everybody else. It's a collaboration. I mean, like every department. I mean, a DP is someone who is supposedly work in collaboration with absolutely everybody on the set and outside the set, and whether it's the production designer, the editor. You don't have to have like constant contact, but you have some contact which makes the whole process interesting. I think one of my pleasure in doing this work is that collaborative process. So when we do visual effects, you have challenges because you have to produce elements that that always combines with visual effects, and then you have to figure out how you're going to light or how you're going to proceed to give elements that are usable. And it goes both ways. You know, sometimes you work in the direction of visual effects, and sometimes visual effects work in your direction. After that, it's all a question of whether you get along with the people, and usually do get along, because I've been lucky to work with very, very, very experienced and intelligent people. There was occasions where I didn't go that well, and that was absolutely pain. That was atrocious pain. I think the only person I really had a verbal argument with was a visual effects supervisor, but he was really not doing his job. So, but it happens once in many, many times. Most of the time, it's been great experiences. I like it. Actually, I like it because it's a collaborative process. It adds challenges and it adds spice to the job.
Here. Do you work in production a lot with your colorists to decide the final look, or you prefer to work with your production designer and other people, and after see in post-production with your colorist?
The way we do that, no, I always have conversation with the colorist when I can beforehand. Just because if you're shooting digital, then you decide on the LUT, which can be any LUT, but you know, when it could be the lab's LUT, or it could be whatever we decide to do together. And I'm usually also working with the colorist that does the dailies. You know, there's a transfer which usually comes every day on the set and see dailies with me when it's possible. And but I'm not. I don't go crazy with anything like that during the shoot. I try to stay as close. Actually, as close as possible that what I would have done on film, because basically this is my past, so I try to import the past into the present, if I may say so. And then, well, then it's pretty straightforward. After the film is finished, you know, I see the film with the director, I see the film with the colorist, and we talk about a policy, how to proceed, we see the film, and usually we do that and we fail. It doesn't work, so we change our mind, and then we find something that we think, oh, that's fine, that's great, let's show it to the director, and the director says, no, that's not at all what I wanted, and then so we change everything, and we'll show it again, and then the director says, no, come back where you were before, it was much better. I mean, it goes on and on until, and it's interesting in the way that your first approach is always like ambitious, ideological, looking for things that don't exist. And after a short but usually fairly long process, you come back to mostly the dailies. But you have to go through that route in order to reassure yourself that basically what was best was what you decide to do the day of shooting. and after that, it's just a question of modulating slightly the shots and correcting things and making everything looks even and flowing. So in the end, I've done a couple of films where basically the DI, we didn't change anything. It was just like, but not all of them. There's many hands, not many hands, but okay. Well, you'll be next. I'm gonna do like Donald Trump. No, not you. All right.
Hi.
Yes. Hi.
We all know that you have shot a lot of films in these years, and you also mentioned that you have shot a lot of films even before I was born. And
Yeah.
so obviously, you know, there are a lot of projects that you've gone through. How do you suit yourself for every project possible, and what creativity that you bring to the project? For some, maybe 2 years ago, you have worked on the VFX heavy film, The Fantastic Beasts, and then you're working on it again, and it's releasing this year. And there are a lot of drama projects that you have done, which is separate from each other, which is different from each other. So how do you suit yourself creatively for all these films?
Do you think I sort myself creatively? I mean, I hope so, but I'm not that sure. That's a tough question. You know, the reason to say yes, I'm going to do this project. I've been lucky in the past few years that I was not highly in demand, but enough to be, okay, I can do this, I cannot do that. So there's a lot of films that I turned down because they made me uncomfortable, meaning that I had the feeling that if I say yes, I'm going to fail, because this is not, and it's very difficult to explain why. So I need a certain level of confidence before I say yes to a film. It's of course based on it's based on the script. It's based on the personality of the director. Things like that, and sometimes the location. I have to have this level of confidence to say I'm going to do it. And then how do I sort myself creatively? I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I tried, I read the script and I try to understand what's going on. One thing that I had written there, what I wanted to say, and I don't know how we can talk about, it's just thinking, okay, well, I'm going to talk to you guys about the films I've made. And then I was thinking, all this experience, when I think of it, it's a mixed bag of, let's say, I wouldn't say success, but things that worked and things that failed. Because when you do film, you start with ambitions, and half of your ambitions, you fail to achieve them, to be honest. And what's interesting in that is that you learn from the failure. You never learn from the success. Because success, you just say, okay, great, it's going to work, okay, fine. Failure, you have your brain working on it for days and weeks or lifetime, maybe. And I know it's difficult to, but usually on these Q&A sessions, people ask me, how did you do that? I say, okay, well, I don't remember. But nobody ever asks, what did you do there that was so badly done? And that would be the interesting question. I'm ready to, if anyone has that in mind. It's more interesting in a way, but that kind of question never comes up. People are too kind. So I don't really answer your question, but that's because I have a hard time answering it. Another failure. Oh, yes, you wanted to, there's a microphone here, please. Yeah, but they're not going to hear you in the back row, and we want to hear you from row 1 to row whatever.
So my question is about topic chemistry between actor and DOP or also operator. Do you have maybe any methods how to work with actor from operator side and DOP?
You tell them you just be there and say your line, okay? No, that's you know what? It's
What about Russell Crowe?
I'm not going to answer this question. I'm going to do my Trump again. No, there's something that's quite essential. You got to love actors, even if you don't, but you have to love them. And when I say you have to love the actors, it's not quite true. You have to love the character, not the person. That doesn't matter. That's a different thing. You have to love the character, and that's the first approach that you have to have with them. You have to pay attention, because an actor, when he performs and hears cut, usually his first look is towards the camera, not to the tent, which is 2 miles away with the director. He's going to look at the operator, say, okay, I was okay. Even if he doesn't ask that, that's very often what happens. So an actor will feel or know whether you pay attention. And that you have to send a signal at the very beginning of your production, which is, I'm going to take care of you. If you do that, if you send that signal, however you do it, you will win their confidence and raise their level of confidence. And it's very important, especially with actors or actresses which are nervous because they feel they're about like 20 years more than they should for the part or something like that. You have to send the signal, I'm going to take care of you. And it's not only a political thing. It's basically, I think it's your duty, not to the actor, but to the character, that you have to pay attention. So yes, watch the actors, be appreciative of their work, and send the signal that you're interested and that you will care for them. And after that, it's a piece of cake. But it has to be a little bit genuine. You can't. It's not a forced thing. And essentially, I think a DP was not interested in what the actors are doing should do another profession. There's something which indicates my feeling about it is when I have a young operator or talk to a student about operating, and especially when you're doing films and we didn't have video return, the fear, okay, the mic isn't shot and we have to reshoot because we couldn't take it out in post and things like that. So in the old days, the job of an operator was very stressful because you had to, you would see danger everywhere around the frame. But what I used to tell the young operators or students, say, you will, if you can tell me after a take whether the actors are good or bad, if you can tell me that, don't worry about your frame, it's good. So basically you have to rewire your brain in order to be a spectator of the movie. If you think about your left hand going that way or that way, there you're lost. But if you're really a good spectator of what's happening, then your frame will be fine. Don't worry about the mic or anything else. So it's that kind of attitude. You have to immerse yourself into the movie at all time. That's the key.
Hello. So please tell us something about the failures.
We don't have the time.
So the major one.
Well, no, I'm not going to give you. Well, I could, but that would be long to explain and complicated. And I'm going to talk about in general about failures. I'm not talking about technical failures that you forgot. You know, you forgot to change the speed of your film on your meters, and then okay, well, that happens. No, that happens to everybody. Don't worry about it. I mean, everybody makes like that kind technical mistakes and things like that. The failures are sometimes it comes from ambition. I already told the story to one person here, so I'm not going to try not to repeat myself. But I designed on the film a very elaborate way of shooting nights, but but it involved collaboration of the editor, the visual effects people, everybody. And everybody was like, yeah, it's a great idea, we're going to do that. So we did that. And in post, everybody forgot about it. And basically, it was a fucking disaster. And I spent a lot of money doing that for nothing. That was one thing. Ambition. Like, you have an idea which sounds brilliant. And you don't perceive that the idea doesn't come from the necessity ingrained in the script. It comes from your ambition. And then you have a brilliant idea and you fail to recognize that this idea is not part of the movie. And more importantly, it's not part of the director's project. And then you do that, and for some strange reason, it turns into a disaster. So that's very often the case. And when I made this kind of failures, and I do one like that on every film, basically. But everybody does. I'm pretty sure. There is this tendency to say, okay, you start a project, and you say, oh, yeah, great, this time I'm gonna make it. I'm going to do exactly something fantastic. And then you build on your ego and also on your imagination. And sometimes they're great ideas, but they're not the director's idea or not the writer's idea. They're just a piece on the side, which basically you are only thinking of because you want to please yourself. So that's one of the major danger, yeah. And other failures is when you basically didn't pay attention to the script and you do things that there was a long time ago. I remember, and I was horrified when I realized that there was a scene. I'm talking a long time ago. It's probably 30 years ago, 35 years ago. There was a scene of somebody getting into an office and finding a piece of paper, basically. And she reads the piece of paper and realizes something. And because she was going into the office at night, I did like really moody night and thing like that. And I didn't realize that when she took the piece of paper, there was not enough light for her to read. I was very happy with my mood, with fame. The light was perfect. But of course, on the set, nobody noticed because it was filmed. You know, you light so everybody can see it. When it's on film, it's dark. You know, and okay, that kind of mistake. And the mistake came from not paying attention to the story and being ambitious. So sometimes it's nice to calm down.
Here. Sorry, yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's all right. So that kind of answered a bit of the question, but I think I just wanted to elaborate. You were mentioning there's different ways in which you used to shoot before and now, like, you know, the way you cover it with a lot more shots now. So I'm just wondering, what has been something that you've learned along the way that you have crossed over to now working with digital or throughout your career, that it's kind of like something that you keep at your core, that you're able to adapt and change as you move forward?
I'm tempted to answer by the negative of the reverse, meaning that for instance, from the first Fantastic Beast and the new one, I decided to use none of the tools I used to do before, which was the infamous Chinese lanterns, and I banned them on the last one. I didn't want to see one of them. Can't take them anymore at all. And I used to have used like hundreds of them. Okay, and I said, okay, no Chinese lanterns then, and I thought I was reinventing myself. Then I look at the film and it's the same. I did the same with other things, And then, but you realize that that's my kind of negative thinking, negative not derogatorily, but I believe, or anyway, this my take on it is that you work more avoiding things you don't like than working with things you like. So, there are things I know I cannot do, I don't want to do it. And when I make the list of all what I don't want or don't like, then I work with the rest. And, well, it's been working for me so far. But to answer your question, however, things have changed. I'm not working with the same lamps. Now we use LEDs and all kinds of things. It's totally. But I try not to. It's not that I'm trying. It's that I can't change my aesthetic, because the things I don't like, they're still there and they're still looming around and trying to come back in by the back door. And as I said, I work with the rest. I work with what's left.
Hi. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was wondering about working with different directors and different directors' visions, because sometimes there's just directors that have very strong visions, sometimes not. And if you've had that experience in your career at all, and sometimes having to.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear your question, because if you.
Am I not too loud?
No, you're not too loud. Not loud enough.
Okay. Just when I was wondering about whether you've ever worked with, like, there's different types of directors. Sometimes they have really strong visions, and sometimes, I was just wondering if you had that contrasting experience in your career at all, and how you've managed it.
It's always different, and even with the same director on the different film, it's always different. And I think that's the interesting part. I mean, I welcome people who have a very strong visual, like Tim Burton. And I've worked with people that were absolutely not interested in the way the film was shot, or even framed, or the camera was something. That's your job. Don't even mention it. You know what? It's great because it breaks the monotony of every profession when you have to constantly do things differently. And I don't mind breaking up the shots and deciding what the shots, and I don't mind to do that. And I don't mind when I work with John Boorman, and John Boorman will give you the shots 3 months before shooting, and you better put a cross on the ground and measure the height of the camera, because this is what you're going to get. And it's great. I love it because he takes responsibility for, he's going to cut the film. Actually, he's not really cutting the film. He takes the slates out. So, no, it's seriously. I think Emerald Forest, I called him and said, how is the editing? He said, we're done. We're doing the sound now. It was like 4 weeks later. But it's great because his shots are fantastic. So I'm a kind of lazy person that if everyone does my job and does it well, I'm fine with that. As long as it's good, you know. On the other hand, believe it or not, John Boorman would give you challenges that are so hard that you're glad you don't have to deal with that. So you still have a lot on your plate. And that was great. My 3 films I did with John were absolutely at the height of my happiness doing this work. And I've done films with people, you know, good films actually, where I had to decide where to put the camera and how to move it, and on every shot, and make sure that it was the editor would be happy. And I've done that many times. Because there is something also which is true. I mean, I've done close to 70 features now, something like that, and many of my colleagues have done much more than that. No directors does, well, very few directors, maybe Woody Allen, but very few directors do 70 films along their career. Usually they spend they do a film, and then before they get the money for the next one, it wastes 3-4 years and doing nothing. I hope there's not many directors in the room, but so and that doesn't make us necessarily better. That's not what I'm saying, but we see a rehearsal and immediately say, okay, well, we need to do this, I need to see that, okay, well, that will cut, if I do this, that will cut very well, or this be nice to do things. It's ingrained in us after a while that how to break down a scene. I find it doesn't mean I'm doing it well, I mean I'm doing it easily, which many directors, they're not that good at that. And some of them are not interested in that. They want to concentrate on the actors, on other things, which I totally understand because it's a full job. It's not easy to do. So yeah, well, if they let me do it, I'm happy to do it. If they do it, fine. I mean, it's just, I like experiences to be different. I mean, doing the same thing, the same film over and over, I would be bored. If that answers the question, I don't know.
Hi there. I was just wondering if you would be able to share a little bit about your time working with Nesta Almendros. I think it was in film school back in 60-something. And then there was a film called, what is it called? God, I'm going to blank on the title. The first film Nestor shot with Eric Romer, La Collectionneuse, yeah. I saw this film and I was absolutely flabbergasted how beautiful it looked and beautiful how I could not figure out how they made it so real and so believable that it was and it was beautiful. So I said, I have to meet this director of photography, which it was fairly easy, and I got an appointment. I saw him and told him my story, going through school, things like that, and said, okay, bye-bye. I never heard about it anymore. And then later on, I was working, and they needed a clapper loader because the Romer film were very, very sort of small crew. So Nestor had a first, and that was it. And after a few weeks, they decided maybe they needed a loader or somebody to help. So I knew the producer, so the producer called me, and then I started working with Nestor, and I did 3 or 4 films with him. And I was amazed because the way he were approaching cinematography was so different from anything I'd been taught or I'd seen, that it was a little bit of a, for us, for our generation, it was a revolution. The thing with Nestor is that not only he was an intelligent man and with an extremely good aesthetical taste, but he had no formal training in the film business. So basically, nobody had told him, oh, Nestor, when you do a shot, you have to do a key light here with a 10K there, and on the other side, you need a fill with a 5K, and make sure that you got a backlight at the other side, the reverse side of the key light, and forget about the fact that you've got like 2 shadows on your nose and it looks horrible, but that's how you have to do it. This is what we were taught in school. And I'm not saying Nestor was the only one, but Nestor had no idea how to do that. So he imagined other ways, and his ways was, okay, well, I'm in a room, oh, there is a window there. Okay, well, normally the light will come from the window. So he would basically reproduce as good as he could natural light. And Nestor, I've seen him basically inventing, if not reinventing, bounce light. No one was doing bounce light in the 60s. There was an experiment done by Hitchcock a little before, but which he did with giant walls of white and arcs. But that was, there was no arcs in France. Well, there was arcs, but they didn't have the money for that with Romer. So he invented. He bought like pieces of white paper and bounced like photo floods into it to do his shot, and it was amazing because nobody would do that. And so basically, working with Nestor, I had to forget everything I learned before and get that approach that was so clever and so intelligent and so tasteful. Now I did like 4 films with him and a few commercials, things like that. And I think I owe him quite a lot for what I became after that.
That was a very similar question that I was going to ask, actually. But I was wondering if you remember from when you were an assistant, things you might have learned from other cameramen that you brought to, might have informed your aesthetic the way you work now.
It was I must say, it was mostly Nestor, because whether I worked with other DP, but briefly. But I was such a bad assistant that they decided to promote me very quickly. So they would make sure I was not like making any other soft shots. No, I was very lucky to start working as a DP very, very early. So I didn't work with many DPs actually.
Hi, I share your admiration for Nestor. I think that he was a great master and a great intuitive, he had a lot of intuition about the light and the camera work. But going back to nowadays, today, I want to ask you, do you think that the cinematographers, we have to spend more time in color grading, due that the color grading right now, the color grading tools and the color grading process is a very powerful and very important part of our job? Or do you prefer that the colorist pre-grades the film and you just go at the end and corrects? What kind of approach do you have with the color grading process?
Well, I've been lucky to work with very good colorists. So basically, I'm always happy when I work with someone that has good ideas. So because actually, when I get to the coloring, to the eye process, I don't have an idea. Well, I have ideas, but they're not necessarily good ideas, and there's two ways to say, you know, I know DP that will be, okay, this is my vision of the film, which I carry throughout the shooting, and then when I get to the colorist, I know what I'm doing, basically. I'm the guy that doesn't really know what he's doing. No, but I'm saying that, I know you're gonna smile, but it's partly true. I think even during the process of shooting, I like it to be a discovery process. It's not that I don't have any ideas, but my ideas have to be confronted with the reality, and very often the reality, and I'm talking the reality, it can be, okay, well, it's a gray day, it's a gray today, and I thought it should be sunny, but, well, you have to shoot, so you've changed your mind. That's the usual thing. But even you're on stage, I find that the contact with the reality, even the reality of a build set, is a little bit brutal, and that you have to accommodate with that. And it's the same thing when you get to the DI, in the sense that even if you have thought, like, let's simplify, let's say that, okay, you thought that this scene should be, for instance, warmer. But then you take it into the context of what precedes and what follows, which is not always what was scripted also, because, you know, things change. You know, scenes are dropped and things like that. Okay. And then you have to say, well, if I do that as warm as I anticipated, it's not going to play very well with what precedes and what follows. So it's another reality, it's another context that you have to treat and to confront and to get with. So I think this is the whole business is like being able to navigate in a rough sea, in a way, and you have to adapt the size of your sails, you know, to what the weather is and things like that. So, and I find it's part of the job. I remember, that's anecdotal, but I remember having receiving a script. I read the script, it was very bad, but never mind. And there was a letter from the director of Intent, where he was saying, this is the kind of film I want to do, this is that. He was describing, it's going to be like this, but it's going to be better, and things like that. The letter was really pretentious. And I was tempted to reply, I should have done it, actually. I was tempted to reply, sir, I'm very glad that you sent me your script and your letter, and I see from your letter that you know exactly what you want to do, therefore you don't need me, because my view on making a film, it's a journey into discovery and to, you know, you're discovering the reality of what you're confronted to. And I didn't send a letter, I'm a bit of a coward. You know, I admire people who say, well, I read the script and I decided this should look like that, and then I did this and I did this and I did this, and this is the result, which is exactly what I had in mind. That's not the way I'm doing things, basically.
But do you enjoy spending time in color timing?
Yeah, the first 5 minutes, yes. No, I do, and no. Physically, I don't, because I don't like being in a dark room, sitting on a chair, because I'm a pacing guy, you know. I need to be in movement. But and also the frustration with the color timing thing is that someone else is doing all the thing, and you're just like that, just eating candies and getting fat and checking your phone. But the process itself is very interesting. I try to rest, focused on that because it's a very interesting process, and you get into such a fine line of doing little tricks and playing with all the bells and whistles and things. No, I like the process. I don't like the physical process. That's different, yeah.
Philippe, here. Recently, Kaminsky mentioned your film Queen Margot as an example of how to embrace darkness shooting on film. Yeah, that's what he said.
It's very nice of him, yeah.
And he put you as an example. I was wondering, for example, like Queen Margot, did you pre-flash the film? Did you choose like a very fast lenses, or how do you approach to shoot very dark scenes when you are shooting on film?
Well, I don't put any light.
But do you pre-flash? No. Do you pre-flash, for example, to keep some texture on the shadows? You never pre-flash?
No, I never flashed anything on film. I didn't. Yeah, sorry, that's a bit of a miswording, but no, I never use flashing. Flashing the film. I never did, bleach bypass and things like that. I always wanted to treat the film in a kind of straightforward way. Why? I don't know. I don't like tricks. I don't like, for me, and some of my colleagues have done that and made a name out of it, and they've done very, very beautiful things. It's not that, I know that I would not do it well, basically, because I would feel that I'm using gimmicks and tricks and things, and I would be very worried doing that. So I never did it. So how did I approach darkness? I mean, the darkness is not just not putting light. It's always a question of contrast. And in order to have darkness, you have to have a point of light somewhere, and it's in the balance between this a little bit of clarity against a lot of dark. That's the balance which is difficult to achieve. And maybe, I mean, yeah, I know people like the movie. I think sometimes I went a bit too far, honestly. I think this is the darkest thing I've done. Now, maybe because I'm getting older, I like to see things. Seriously. Yes.
Here.
Here.
Hi. Good evening to you and everyone. What has been your biggest challenge till date? And if you felt something that you couldn't achieve, or you've been dreaming of, and it's been a task to do that, or it's been very difficult to get there, or any instance that you'd like to share?
Biggest challenge. You know what? Sometimes the challenges are. Well, there's two kinds of challenge. There's one which is purely technical challenge, where the sets are difficult to maneuver in. For instance, so the Chivo, when he did the science fiction, well, not the science fiction, okay, gravity, yeah. That was the kind of challenge. I can't even know how he started to do that. That admire that very much. That kind of challenge is but it's very interesting to do, to think. I'd like much smaller challenges like, did I say something? I don't know. Which is like silly challenges. You put into a room where everything's reflected, for instance. And I remember one day I had to do a camera move of people opening French doors, which are all glass, and then there was mirrors in the back, and on top of that, the set designer had put this, this about 20 globes of glass globes with, like stuffed birds and things inside. So everything was reflecting everything. So came to him and said, "You can't do that to me. I mean, I have to put lights. This is a film. You light set." And he said, "Oh no, I don't care. It's my decision. It's my set." And well, it was Italian, and there was no way he would remove those glass things. So my first feeling was, okay, well, I'm dead, and then it was the 18th century set. So, and actually Dante, because that's his name, was right. Because we did it. This kind of challenge makes you think. You don't sleep at night, but you think, hey, what do you do? What did we come up with? It was simple. Very simple. We built a fake chandelier, circles of metal like that, and we put those little peanut bulbs. Yeah. So basically, which was like plenty to have a 4 or 5 stop inside, and when reflected, they looked like candles. So basically, I put 2 of these things, and okay, well, I can shoot. These challenges I love, and very recently on the last film, on the last Fantastic Beast, we had a scene which has been cut short now, but there was a long scene at the beginning, and there was just a room, night scenes with 2 gigantic mirrors facing each other. So basically, everything was reflected for billions of time to infinity. And the set designer, who was a bit more considerate than Dante, had frosted the mirror so we could deal with it. And I went there, and I thought the frosting, that was just cleaning up. We'll deal with it. And okay, so all right, clean it up. Say, what did I do? I just shot myself in the foot there. And then we found a solution, which was basically on the ceiling. We just glued some lead tapes like that, which basically, because they're white, you don't see them when they're not lit. And then we put sections all around the ceiling piece, and whenever they would appear in reflected, on the console, you take them down and you put them up when they were not seen. And basically, we just did that, which took 2 hours for the electricians to set, and we shot the entire scene without even waiting for anything, because you just the console thing. And it looked okay. You could see the mirrors, as long as you didn't see the camera. But it was the light that were the problem. So those challenges are very productive, because fun, you always find a way. Yeah. It takes time sometimes. It's stressing, but you find the way. Now, the bad challenges are when the director puts you in a position that whatever you're going to do, the shot, and it's sometimes very simple. You have a room which is, you have people and you have white walls, and they're close to the walls, and you're dead, and you know that nothing's going to save you. because whatever you do with the faces, they're going to look dark in comparison to the wall. You can't separate them. Things like that are challenges which basically are bad challenges.
Philippe, here.
Yeah.
Regarding your work style, do you prefer like to plan every shot in every detail, or do you maybe prefer to plan it like in general and get a vision more in a spontaneous way?
I'm not sure I understand your question in terms of...
It's like planning before shooting, like framing it in your mind and what's on.
That really... Well, the framing camera move, you mean?
All in general, like the work style of preparing the film and the visuals.
You know what? You prepare what you can prepare. Sorry. The thing is that there are scenes that you can't prepare. You know what? Like scenes. Well, basically scenes with dialogues and one or two or many actors, because you know you're going to rehearse with the actors and they're going to do whatever they want to do with, you know, according with the direction of the actor. And then it's only when you see exactly what's happening on the set, in the set with your actors, that you can plan how you're going to break down the scene. Other shots you can prepare a long time in advance because it's more about the camera moves and you know, different scenes. So you can do, you can do that, but you can't do it completely. It's very rare that there's a film that you could storyboard from A to Z. It has been done, but even Hitchcock famously storyboarding his thing. In fact, he would have improvised some scenes on the day because it's, you know, you're not telling the actors 3 months in advance where they're going to sit or when they're going to stand up, unless there's an imperative for that. So it varies. There are things that you want to prepare, and there are things that you rather not. And it's not a question of liking it or not liking. It's a question of the what's needed, basically.
Hi, Philippe. Nice to meet you in Poland.
Mm-hmm.
I have one question. When you are not working as a DOP, do you do personal artistic things with photo, camera, drawings, painting, writing?
Oh my! I'm going to talk about my personal life. I do things like that which I'm not going to brag about. Because I'm not very good at it. But yeah, I do things like that. No, I don't really take pictures. I used to draw and paint rather mediocrely, but a long time ago, I for the past 20, 30 years, I haven't done anything like that. I'm trying to play the piano, which I've been working on for years without not great success. I'm still planning to give a concert in 2098, but I'm not sure I'll be ready. No, but I know what you're inferring to. Yeah, I think it's not mandatory, but I think it's important to try to touch other domain in either the aesthetic or artistic things. Just at least one of the reasons and very late in life I wanted to play the piano is that I basically wanted to understand what music was, and I still don't. But and in a very strange way. It's not that one influences the other because that would be very pretentious to say, okay, well, I'm going to work like G.S. Bach. But you see patterns. For instance, you feel patterns rather than seeing them. You know, like, for instance, music is all about going fast, going slow, but you know, it's all about dynamic in essence. You know, you're pacing and changing the pace and having, you know, solid structures that determine this kind of thing. And also, music is based on vibes. You know, like it's like light. It goes like this. There are kind of fundamental similarities, basically, and I think for the perception of camera moves. I'm not saying you should play music on the set, because that wouldn't mean anything, but have a feeling of rhythm and dynamic, I think, is quite important. I'm not saying that it's essential. It's just nice to have things to compare to, even if they're very different. I don't know if that makes any sense. I'm not so sure, but
hi.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have great experience in industry, so my question, what is your advice for young cinematographers how to work with directors, and maybe advice for young directors how work with cinematographers?
Well, you know what, my advice is, I don't know what they're worth. You know, for both, it's or I say you know what, it's for a DP, it's very important to know that a director is engaged in a very difficult job, and which is very stressful and very destabilizing for all kinds of reasons. You know, it can be politics of the studio, it could be the budget, it could be, you know, the inner difficulty of making a good film, because it's terribly difficult to do a good film. I mean, we can't hide that. So as a DP, you have to have a lot of attention to that, because you can be you can be a good companion or a bad companion. And in a way, it goes both ways. However, the director has so much on his plate that he's not going to, you know, be the same. But for, you know what, it's like marriage, you know, you have to find the right one, you know, it's difficult. But the good thing, I think, that, you know, on the other hand, I don't believe in the sanctity of marriage between a DP and his director. So you can divorce very easily. Yes.
Hi, here. Oh.
No, go ahead.
Here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Just speaking a little bit about the question of reinventing yourself, or making sure that each film that you do is, you know, something new, so you don't get bored. I'm just wondering, when you meet like creative bottlenecks, you know, just when you get stuck creatively, what are some approaches that you take in order to get a breakthrough?
You know what, there was a lovely screenwriter we work with called Richard Lagravinès, and I asked him, what you do when you're you're stuck, when you're writing and you're stuck? And he said, lower your expectation. That answers the question.
Yeah, I think so. Okay.
Hello, over here. So working today, the industry is extremely oversaturated. Here,
oh, yeah.
Sorry. The industry is extremely oversaturated with people, and so I guess this is relevant for everyone here, that we often come to a point where we open up our calendars. We don't have any, engagements, for months to come. So it's scary to kind of fall into this pitfall of thinking that you're stagnating and maybe even reconsidering, your whole life, so to speak. I imagine, even though you have a very prolific, had a great career and so on, have you ever had this point in your life, in your career, when you were uncertain about the future? And if so, how did you...
I'm uncertain now.
Okay.
I don't know what to do next year. No, but it's a serious question. I mean, all the time. How you deal with this?
Yeah, pretty much.
Badly.
Okay. But any concrete tips? So, I mean, how do you stay positive, I guess?
I don't know.
Okay.
No, I'm serious. I mean, I'm glad you're taking it jokingly, but you know what? If you want to do this work, you have to be to learn how to deal with it, and I don't think anyone does, because I remember one part of my life. It was some time ago, but where I didn't have a job. I had done like films. I was not a known cinematographer in France. I had a 9 months period where I did not even have a phone call. Not even a phone call about a phony film that would never be made. And I flipped. I mean, I was not happy. I was thinking about going back to learning how to make pastries or something like that. And then I did 3 films in a row, back to back. So we have, I mean, for young, aspiring DP, be prepared that it's not always fun. And also when you've done a number of things and you don't get a call, or the director you work with is not calling you and taking somebody else, which happens all the time, your ego is just like shattered. It's difficult. It's difficult, and on top of that, especially at the beginning of your career, you have also, your bill to pay, and no, it's hard. It's tough, but you know what? The difference is that it's not only cinematographers. I mean, most of the society is having this kind of problem of unemployment, uncertainty, and it's getting worse and worse. So it's not only the film business. When I started working in France, the amount of people out of work were 250,000. Now they are like by 3 million. The length of the average length of unemployment in France at that time in the 60s was 3 weeks. Now, people stay out of work for years and sometimes never find work again. So, welcome to the club. I want to say to everyone, but no, it's you have to be courageous to go that way. You have to be prepared, and there's I don't know any way to prepare yourself for the uncertainty of and especially at my age now, I got a lot of friends DP that they don't work anymore. They can't find work because they're considered too old, and that's also pretty painful.
Would you then say that being young is an advantage, or?
It's always an advantage.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Well, yes and no. I mean, it all depends in which circle you go. No, of course it's an advantage. And I don't know whether it's easier to find job. It's all very personal stories. There's not a there's statistic and there's individual stories. So you cannot never
I think that a common misconception might be that because the industry is so hard, and sort of still here, here.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Still me, yeah.
Yeah.
Because the industry is so hard, and we have to be able to deal with failure. The older we get, your age kind of becomes a quality stamp.
It is. I had a friend that was just slightly older than me in France, and he just got a job after not working for about 3 years. And he got a job because the director was a good friend, thing like that. And the producers were very skeptical. I mean, this guy is too old to do the job, okay. And then they did the film, and they did the film in budget, in time. And the producer was totally amazed. And my friend said, well, it's called experience. And experience is not a justification that you're going to do better than non-experienced. Because when I was not experienced, I did films, and I think they were okay. They were not too bad. So I'm not... Experience is important when you get to a certain budget. When you get like massive sets and massive problems and things like that, yes. But if these films you're never going to get unless you have experience anyway. So you're not in. Well, no, you could get a massive film very young. It sometimes happens, which is okay because you get help from your departments. You work with people with experience. But you can be very young and do your first film and be very creative and very enthusiastic and do wonderful things. I don't think age should be a consideration.
Can I ask?
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question down the front left, over here? Can you do you have any favorite lenses or lens lengths or anything that you like to?
Lenses?
Yeah. Is there any boring technical question?
I usually take the one that looks cute. No, it's okay. If I make a proclamation that publicly that I prefer this brand rather than this brand, and rather than this brand, I'm gonna have enemies immediately, and they're gonna shoot me at the moment I. There are very good lenses on the market, I must say. Was that diplomatic enough? No, I mean, it's, I test lenses, but to be honest, it's, the more tests I do, it's very difficult to test because ideally, the ideal test would be to shoot the entire film with all possible lenses and pick up, restart again with the one you prefer. But nobody's going to pay for that, obviously. So you do test, it's never in context, it's very difficult. So when I do lens testing, honestly, I don't even know how to do it properly. So I get carried away in doing cool shots and or things I like. And in the end, yes, there's one day you say, okay, well, I like this one, it's better. But if you wanted to prove in a court of justice that you are right, it would be very difficult. Does that make any sense? No. All right. I'm sorry, I don't have another answer. Oh, range of lenses. Oh no, that was the question? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought he was talking about brands. That's a good question. It depends on the film, really. I'm tilting towards long lenses because of the perspective, but up to 120, 150. This is the kind of perspective that I like, between the 75 and the 120. But sometimes I like to use, on the last film, I used a 24, well, 65 millimeter, the Alexa 65. But I don't like lenses that distort too much or that gives too much depth. You know, like the set disappears into nothingness at the end of the you know, several miles away. But you know what? It's really different. I did a film with Francis Lawrence called Constantine, and Francis is a very, very visual director. He's an extremely good taste, and we got along very well on the same thing. But for instance, we realized that Rachel Weisz was looked great with a 35, and usually I never use a 35 to shoot a close-up on actors. But we put a 35, looked at it, so, oh my God, she's great. Well, she's great anyway, but it's you know what, you usually start with ideas, and again, confronted to the reality, you may change your mind. So yeah, I mean, from the 25 to the 180, I'm fine. On the other end is something that we did with David Yates on the last one. We banned zoom, not because of the quality, because the quality of zooms is extraordinary now, but we decided to shoot everything on primes, because when you're on primes, you have to make the decisions of going forward or backwards to get what you want, rather than just playing with the thing and then ending up with the film shot on the 82, the 73, the 101, and every, it's a question of discipline in a way to shoot on primes and on a certain limited number of primes. I like the discipline that you have to make decisions according to the set of lens that you have. I did find doing that very, very interesting, and then I tend to go with that.
Hello, I'm here to the right.
Would you approach shooting on a specific T-stop in the same way as a focal length?
I have a very untrendy way, is that I like my shots to be sharp. So I'm not going with the trend of shooting wide open. First, because I don't like to make my AC miserable. And I like the shots to be sharp. And I like the depth of field. So yeah, on the last one I was very happy. Well, 65 on top, 65 chip requires. It's very difficult to focus. So I was very glad when I could shoot at 5.6 or 8 or sometimes 11. And I like the definition. I like the image to be rather well defined, and if I don't want to have depth of field, then like long lenses, and occasionally I would do that. But I think on the last film I never shot wide open.
Hello, I would like to ask a really grounded question. Being a DP is pretty stressful also, and have you ever made a decision to quit a project in the middle of a project, and what do you consider ethical reason for quitting a project in the middle of it?
Well, in the middle of it, I did that once. I did that once because I would have killed the director. I didn't want to spend the rest of my life in jail. For the story, he might finish his life in jail because he's been accused of rape. So that was one of the reasons I left the film. Not that he wanted to rape me, thank you, but because his behavior on the set was not acceptable. Not to say anything else. Okay, so I quit the film after a week of shooting. No, I mean, it's not. I don't deserve anything like that. But there are things that you can tolerate and things you can't tolerate. There are things I can't tolerate. I mean, that's my nature. And on top of that, he was stupid and abusive and whatever. So he had all the qualities to finish his life in jail. That makes sense. All right, the closed chapter. There was ethical question. I usually, there are films that I turned down because reading the script, I didn't want to do this project. Yeah, for sure. And that I've been privileged enough that I could turn down those films because I had other possibility of paying the bills, which is not always the case for a lot of people. There are films that are just like, there are scripts that basically suck. You don't want to be attached to that. But that's the only time I left a film in the middle. I did that once, but that was for medical reasons. It was not. Okay, that's my answer. Okay, I've kept you quite. Oh my God. Any more questions? Hope not. Well, thank you very much. It's been a real pleasure.